Hello knitters, Barbara Benson here. I am an independent knitwear designer who also likes to make videos here on my YouTube channel, Watch Barbara Knit. If you'd like to know more about my knitwear designs, please check in the description below. And there you will find a link to my Ravelry designer page where you can see all the patterns I have available for you to get and knit up for yourself. Also in the description below, you will find a link to the Watch Barbara Knits Facebook group. We'd love to have you come over and join in the conversations where we continue with topics that we bring up here on the YouTube channel itself. And as always, I love chatting with people in the comments. I try to respond to as many as I can. So if you feel moved to comment, please do so. Today, actually, the subject of this video was inspired by the Watch Barbara Knits Facebook group where one of our members, Brenda, and I'm only going to say her first name, is working on and sharing photos from one of my patterns that she's working on. And it is so much fun. That's one of the things I do like about the Facebook, because with it, y'all get to share the pictures and show things to me that you're working on. And I absolutely love seeing photos and plans of what y'all are planning to do with my patterns and how you're going to make them your own. And she is knitting Ready Player One, which is one of my shawls, and I realized that it was one that sort of predates the YouTube channel, so there is not a pattern tour for it. And one of the things I'm hoping to do more of this year is do more of a throwback pattern tours so y'all can see them on the video. And so it's right here. And of course, we're going to take it off my silent partner. This is Ready Player One. I have been accused, I have been accused of moving these things too fast, so I will try to do it slowly. But also the exposure is going to change because my face, she is very, very white, and it dials things back, but this is dark, so it's going to try to expose it better. So that is your first look at it. We are going to be talking about it. First, Ready Player One. Ready Player One, when I designed this, it was at that point in time just a book, but now it is a book in a movie. I am a huge science fiction nerd. Nut, geek, whatever you want to call it. I believe that I've made that clear in several of my videos, and Ready Player One is an amazing pop culture-y kind of multi reference to everything 80s, and that's when I grew up. So it is, I'm fond of the book. It's an excellent book. I enjoyed reading it. And this pattern, I named it Ready Player One because I had just recently finished reading the book when I designed it. And the idea is I wanted to do mosaic. And I thought that this motif, those little guys, I thought they looked like Pac-Man. And I'm like, look, I'm putting Pac-Man on a shawl. And then I knew I wanted to start with a solid and then move to the mosaic and then end with lace. And so once I figured out my Pac-Man, then I decided I wanted to pick out a lace to go with it that was very, very angular and would sort of evoke the idea of the maze that Pac-Man runs through. Now, obviously, this isn't a literal interpretation. I don't really do things too literally, but that is where the inspiration for this shawl came in. It's a way to show how, my nerdy gamerness without being really, really super literal about it. This shawl is unique in my shawls in that I think it's the only super traditional top-down triangle that I have designed so far. Well, at this point. Now, I do have Every Which Way, which also is a traditional top-down triangle. So I'm up to 2. It's just not a shape I design in because I'm so enamored of crescents, but I do love, there's an elegance to the top-down triangle, and also it's how I had it originally on my silent partner here. It is the most traditional to wear like this style People really like wearing shawls like this, and it's a great shape. I think the big thing about triangle shawls is that they need to be big enough, because there is so much, the shape of them, you get more down here where the crescent shawl doesn't have it, so you have less in the wingspan. Man, my lighting is not liking the super high dark light contrast. Sorry about that, y'all. And so, but they need to be big enough so it has a wide enough wingspan so that when you put it on, it comes around enough. I think that the really, if you do just a one skein triangle shawl, unless it's a huge skein, it's more suited to wearing around the neck, bandit style, whereas kerchief style, whereas you need to get them. Now this shawl, let me see, has a 60-inch wingspan, and the drop on it is 37 inches. So it is a good size, and that is because it uses 2 skeins of sport weight yarn. I specifically used Ba Yarn's Aspen, which is a merino silk cashmere blend, which we know we love merino and silk and cashmere, so it worked out great. And the colors that we selected, well, I worked with the dyer on this. This is burgundy, and then this is called hazelnut. And it has a very subtle, it looks almost completely gray here, but it has a very subtle brownness that runs through it that is really pretty. And I love how it contrasts with the burgundy. You need 2 colors of this, obviously. Again, it's sport weight, and these were 330 yards in each skein. So it's a total of, let's do math, 660 yards between the two, and you're going to use pretty much an equal amount of both. It's not, you need the 2 skeins and you need 330 in each. So it's on a size 6 needle. And again, because it's the triangle shape, you're gonna need, it's a circular needle, you're gonna need a long cable. I would do like at least a 40, maybe even a 60-inch cable so that you have enough, because the triangle shape you've got, just like the crescent shape, you're gonna have a big long bind off. And you need 1 stitch marker. Like, I only officially call for 1 stitch marker, and that's gonna be the one that marks your center spine. So another thing, this is only one of only 2 shawls that I've designed that uses a garter tab at the start. And the garter tab gives you this really nice straight line at the top. And that's what it's going for. It's right here. And what a garter tab is you cast on, in this one specifically, 2 stitches, right? You just cast on, and then you knit X number of rows in garter. So you've got the beginning, and you've got like the tiny, you have this little tiny square. This is a rectangle actually. And then, so you have 2 live stitches on your needle. And then you literally, so if you imagine this is the piece of fabric, here's the needle, right? You literally turn your needle and pick up stitches along the long edge, pick up and knit stitches along the long edge. So, and then you turn it again and pick up and knit the stitches on the other end. So it's you're on the short end with live, pick up stitches along the long end, short end here, and then you have your starting stitches, and that creates that actual top edge is actually one of your edges. Now, I said pick up and knit, and this is something I wanted to pick up and knit and pick up are actually 2 completely different sets of instructions. Sometimes people use them interchangeably, but they mean 2 different things. If someone just says, if a pattern just says pick up X number of stitches, you're running your needle through and putting those, like picking up the stitches off the edge, and then you're going to end up with essentially your needle run through the top or the side or wherever you're picking it up, and those stitches are on your needle. And then you knit them as instructed. Pick up and knit means starting at whatever edge, you pick up one stitch and knit it, and pick up the next stitch and knit it, and pick up the next stitch and knit it until you have all of the stitches they want you to pick up, but it will be on your needle and it will be all live stitches that you have created. So it's a very subtle difference, but one I thought I'd point out. Tangent time. So starts with a garter cast on, this little garter tab cast on. It's tiny. If you truly hate it, you can probably just cast on 9 stitches. If you really hate it, I would use a stretchy cast on, maybe like a twisted German cast on. What will happen is you'll get like a little dip here. It's not gonna be a big deal. It's on the back of your neck anyway. And then we work in this texture pattern, and this is like one I just made up because if you know me at all, I get very bored with garter, and it's just when I'm knitting, I get bored. So I always throw in some knits and purls and end up with an interesting texture. And I really like how this one came out because it interacts with the increase pattern and kind of does the work for you. It's a combination of stockinette and seed stitch. So it's just knits and purls, and then we've got our make ones. I'm not using a yarn over increase down the center. I wanted it to stay solid, and on certain rows it's just make one left, make one right. On other rows, to keep it in pattern, it's make one purl left, make one purl right, just to keep the texture pattern going. But it is a fairly straightforward texture pattern and a very soothing knit. And frankly, when I was knitting this, I didn't want to stop. I enjoyed knitting this texture so much that I was like, can I just knit this forever? But then I committed. So the next section you get to is your mosaic panel. Now, I know I've described it before, but just in case this is the first time you're hearing me talk about it, Mosaic Colorwork is a style of colorwork where you are knitting stripes and slipping stitches. You're not carrying any yarn along. You're only ever working with one strand of yarn at a time. The only place you carry the yarn is up. You can see right here is up the side. See that little barber pole? And that's on the back side. That's the only place you're carrying. As you can see, there's no yarn, there's no extra yarn carried on the back. It's just stripes. And the way that works is, let me see if I can hold this up. So the way that works is like, so you're knitting in the burgundy, and then you slip the silver stitch, and then you knit in the burgundy and you slip the silver stitch, and you do that on both the right and the wrong side. So it stretches that silver stitch across the stripe and creates the illusion that you're doing fancy color work, but you're really not. You're just knitting stripes and slipping stitches. So it's a fairly straightforward. It is reflected, so it's a little more complex. And by the time you get to the bottom of the color work, you're going to have run out of the dark color. You're going to run out of the burgundy, and then we just switch into the lace in the solid, because colorwork, I didn't want to do the colorwork lace in this one. I wanted it to be a little bit simpler. Here, let me. So now one thing I want to talk about in the lace is, see how we've got these long runs of uninterrupted lines, this real angularness that I wanted to create the maze-like effect. What that means is that there are parts of the chart and of the written, it's in both written and chart form, where those diagonal lines of yarn overs and knit two togethers actually will go across your repeat line. So there'll be a spot where if you just look at the repeat, where your yarn over is like over here, and the decrease that goes with it is completely on the other side. And what that means is that you will have situations where you are borrowing or stealing stitches from a previous repeat. The reason I mention this is because if you are the type of knitter who puts stitch markers between each repeat of lace to mark it, there will be times where you have to remove that stitch marker, because what'll happen is you'll come up to that stitch marker and your next instruction will be like yarn over, knit two together, and you only have one stitch before the stitch marker. So you'd have to yarn over, slip that next stitch, take the stitch marker out, put that stitch back over, and you have to move the stitch marker. That was just for an example. It's not exactly what you have to do, but you just have to be aware if you have added in stitch markers that I didn't call for, you may have to rearrange them when you get into this lace part, because you have increases and decreases straddling your repeat line. And specifically, I have it written down in here. It's on row 13 of chart E and row 29 of chart F is when they start hopping over. So I did put a note in the written instructions, and you can see it in the chart. That just so you know, here, let me put this back up on her. There we go. Nope, she got a little wrinkle. Can't have wrinkles. Oh, it's still there. Boop, boop. There we go. This pattern, you can work the entire pattern from written instructions. I've written out all of the charts. But if you are a chart kind of person, there it designates in the pattern where the chart starts, so you can match up the written with the chart. It's not completely charted because the texture section just didn't need to be charted. It's just really straightforward. So it's you work the written, and then you can jump to the charts and use the charts if you like charts. But you can work this entire pattern with no charts at all. Just wanted you to know that. That is one thing I try to make clear. So, is there anything else I need to tell you about this pattern? Boop, boop, boop. No, I don't think so. So that is Ready Player One. It is a 2-color sport weight shawl with texture, easy texture, simple slip stitch mosaic work, and then a slightly more complex lace pattern. But it's super fun. And obviously these are the colors I selected, but you can knit it in whatever color combination you want, as long as you have 2 skeins of sport weight yarn that are 330 yards in each skein. So that was the pattern tour for Ready Player One. Thank you, Brenda, for sharing the photos on the Facebook group and inspiring me to make this video. If y'all have a pattern I haven't done a pattern tour for yet that you'd like to see, please check out my Ravelry page and look at them and let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it the thumbs up, click that like button, and if you would like to be notified whenever I upload a new video, please subscribe to this channel and select notifications. Thank you so much.